3 people have been killed and dozens injured in a wave of Russian overnight strikes on Ukraine.
Several people died and others were injured after hundreds of Palestinians desperate for food pushed to get into United Nations warehouse.
Chinese students in the US are facing an uncertain future after Secretary of State Marco Rubio declared that some of their visas will be revoked. The policy will target individuals studying so-called critical fields and those with ties to the Chinese Communist Party, effectively stripping them of the right to pursue education at US universities.
但是我其实觉得这个不让留学生过去这个事儿不是特别的好，因为留学生其实在我看来是代表一个国家之间的文化交流。
The Chinese government has called the decision unreasonable, stating that it's lodged a protest with the US administration. The presence of Chinese students studying overseas has been a long-standing source of tension in US-China relations. During Trump's first term, China's Ministry of Education warned students about increasing US visa rejections and shorter durations. China is the second largest country of origin for international students in the US, behind only India. In 2023 to 2024, they made up roughly a quarter of all foreign students in the US. Russian overnight drones on Ukraine have killed 3 people and injured 27 across 9 regions, including Sumy, Kharkiv and Donetsk. Local law enforcement reported more than 2,000 strikes along the front line and in residential neighborhoods, causing damage to buildings and homes.
Смотришь, как всегда, раз, два и все. 3. А он как начал, один за одним, и до 13-го раза. И 13-й летел, и где-то не взорвался, упал просто и все.
Ukrainian air defences claim to have intercepted 56 of the drones, 10 with firepower and 46 using radar or electronic warfare. An explosion was also reported in Russia's Stavropol, which the region's governor says killed the city's deputy mayor Zor Gertsiev. The latest strikes follow a 3-day wave of aerial attacks by Moscow, during which Russian forces launched more than 600 drones and dozens of missiles across Ukraine.
Russia has proposed to hold a second round of direct peace negotiations with Ukraine. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov made the announcement on Wednesday. The announcement comes after Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan concluded a 2-day trip to Moscow where he met with Lavrov and President Vladimir Putin.
Российская сторона, как и договаривались, оперативно разработала соответствующий меморандум, который излагает нашу позицию по всем аспектам надежного преодоления первопричин кризиса. Наша делегация во главе с Владимиром Мединским готова представить этот меморандум делегации Украины и дать необходимые пояснения в ходе второго раунда возобновленных прямых переговоров в Стамбуле в ближайший понедельник, 2 июня.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump says he's, quote, very disappointed with his Russian counterpart's decision to escalate fighting. He also stated that it will be clear to him soon whether Putin is sincerely looking for peace or not, as he warned of a potential shift in Washington's approach.
We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not. And if he is, we'll respond a little bit differently, but it'll take about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We have Mr. Witkoff is here, who's doing a phenomenal job, is dealing with them very strongly right now. They seem to want to do something, but until the document is signed, I can't tell you.
The Kremlin's proposal comes at a time of increased Russian bombardment of Ukraine and heightened tensions. Moscow says it's ready to end the war if Ukraine eliminates what it calls the root causes of the crisis.
At least 2 people died and others were injured after hundreds of Palestinians desperate for food pushed and shoved to get into a United Nations warehouse. Aid seekers were seen carrying large bags of flour out of the building. Due to severe shortages of food and aid into Gaza, a single bag weighing around 25 kilos currently sells for almost €450. Palestinians in Gaza have been under a tight Israeli blockade, including an 11-week total block on critical supplies, which has pushed the Strip to the brink of famine. The World Food Programme has consistently warned for the deteriorating conditions on the ground and have called for an urgent aid scale-up. It comes just a day after a crowd of hungry Palestinians overran a new US-backed aid distribution hub, and IDF troops fired warning shots in an effort to restore calm, killing several and injuring dozens. The Israeli military denied having aimed directly at the crowd. The hub had been opened by the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, an organization that has been highly criticized by the UN, who refused to work with the scheme as they say it violates humanitarian principles.
7 people died after a boat carrying migrants capsized while arriving to port on the Spanish Canary Islands. Spanish emergency services say the victims were 4 women and 3 young girls. The National Maritime Rescue Service says the boat tipped over as rescuers started removing young people onto a rescue craft positioned between the migrant boat and the quay. They added that the movement of people on the boat was what led it to turn over. Local media say the small boat was carrying more than 100 people. 2 other children, 1 boy and 1 girl, were airlifted with helicopters to nearby hospitals in serious condition after nearly drowning. The Spanish archipelago, located off Africa's western coast, has for years been a main route for migrants. Tens of thousands of migrants make the dangerous trip annually, risking their lives in dinghies and rubber boats unfit for long journeys in open sea. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez shared a message on social media expressing his sympathy and condolences, adding that the lives were lost in an attempt to find a better future.
Chega, the Farright party led by André Ventura, has become the second largest political force in Portugal. They place behind the centre-right coalition Democratic Alliance and head of the Socialist Party. The election results broke with the country's political status quo, as centre-right and centre-left parties have typically alternated between government and opposition. Prime Minister Luis Montenegro's centre-right Democratic Alliance secured 91 seats of the National Assembly's 230 seats, making it the largest bloc in parliament. Montenegro, who has ruled out working with Chega, said he would form a new minority government instead. Chega's rise coincides with far-right gains across Europe, with parties including Alternative for Germany, known as AfD, now in the political mainstream.
The Swiss village of Blatten has been partially destroyed after a massive chunk of the Birch Glacier avalanched down into the valley. Footage shows a thick brown sludge covering almost the entire village located in southern Switzerland. Officials had evacuated the village's 300 residents as well as all livestock earlier this month as a safety measure due to fears of the glacier disintegrating. Residents say around 90% of the village has been covered or destroyed. Authorities say a 64-year-old man was reported missing and search and rescue operations are underway.
Nepal celebrated the 72nd anniversary of the conquest of Mount Everest on Thursday, the 29th of May, known as International Everest Day. A rally was held in Nepal's capital Kathmandu, attended by climbers, guides, and many others. On this day in 1953, New Zealander Edmund Hillary and Sherpa guide Tenzing Norgay reached the top of the world's highest mountain. Since then, Mount Everest has been climbed thousands of times, including multiple ascents by individuals, particularly Sherpas.